As our drama settles into its story, we learn more about our fox's past and his connection to our antagonist who continues to work in the shadows and from behind a mask. On paper, this drama reads like a disaster with too many plot devices and no clear directive, but the execution of this particular story is an absolute delight. It's all thanks to the characters and actors, whose enthusiasm for their respective roles permeates every scene, even when they are filling time in between demon slaying. It goes without saying, of course, that the bromance between Yeon and Hwang has captured our attention and our hearts, but the new characters that have been added this season are starting to pull their weight as well. Take Hongju for example. As much as I enjoyed her action-packed introduction and marveled at her ability to wield a giant claymore on top of a moving train, I was a wee bit concerned that her obsessive personality and crush on Yeon would make her a bit annoying. Instead, we open this week with not only a reminder that she's an absolute badass capable of drinking a dozen men under the table, but with new insights into her character. She's fiercely loyal to those who are on her side as demonstrated by her confrontation with the Japanese soldiers, who torment one of her girls. She swiftly disposes of their ringleader under the cloak of darkness even though she knows Talipa will punish her for killing a human. Hongju's willingness to fight for those in her care, however, puts her in a bit of a predicament because both Yeon and Mu-young are her childhood friends who trained with her to be mountain gods. And now that Mu-young wants to torture and kill Yeon, Hongju is finding it a bit hard to choose sides. But after getting rejected once again by Yeon, because he's a fox who's eternally loyal to his mate, Hongju becomes complicit in Mu-young's latest attempt on Yeon's life. This time, Mu-young's weapon of choice is a Satani, a cursed spirit girl who renders Yeon blind after gazing into his eyes. So creepy. Now, you might be thinking, why curse Yeon and not go for a more direct approach? Well, for starters, this gives our story another chance to feature some more brother bonding while Hwang reluctantly helps Yeon navigate the world without his eyesight. And since Hwang is very distrustful of this new, overly doting version of his big brother, his methods are a bit brutish and highly amusing for those of us emotionally invested in this bromance. The bonding moments between Yeon and Hwang, however, are also fuel for Mu-young's hatred. Their brotherly love serves as a reminder of Mu-young's deceased older brother, and although the exact circumstances are still murky, Mu-young holds Yeon accountable for his brother's death. And when it comes to enacting his revenge, like a proper villain, Mu-young must ensure Yeon feels the same pain he felt. So first, he weakens Yeon by stripping him of his eyesight. This provides Mu-young with the opportunity to kidnap Hwang and Shinju, forcing Yeon to feel the same isolation and helplessness of not being able to save his beloved brother. Except, Yeon is a total badass. He uses his wits and other senses to fight off the demons Hongju invited in order to delay Yeon from rescuing Hwang and Shinju. They've been trussed and tossed in a well for a dramatically slow death. After Yeon defeats the horde of demons, Mu-young coaxes Yeon towards the waiting Satani and, presumably, his demise. In a stroke of luck, or more likely fate, Yeon and the girl who would become the Satani have a tragic history. Yeon once made a promise to protect her as a mountain god, but sometime shortly thereafter, he lost Jia and was stripped of his mountain god powers. Tragically, he was unable to hear the girl's cries for help and save her. In the present, he remembers the Satani's real name and is able to break her curse. But once again, Yeon feels the weight and guilt of his former self-centeredness. Although he's been keenly aware since season 1 that his tragic love story strained his relationship with his brother, he's also seeing how those formerly under his protection were harmed in the aftermath. There's no time to wallow in his guilt though, because Hwang and Shinju are still in danger. But by the time Yeon arrives on the scene, Hwang has already been rescued by Yuyi, a half-mermaid who has had hearts in her eyes ever since she met Hwang and taught him how to tie a tie. Who can blame her? It's obvious to everyone except Hwang that Yuyi is smitten and determined to win Hwang's heart. Yeon, who wants his brother to find happiness and companionship after he leaves, is single-handedly blowing on the sails to make sure this ship leaves the harbor. Yeon and Shinju tease Hwang mercilessly, and I nearly died from lack of oxygen when Yeon and Shinju paired up to enact a play-by-play of how they envisioned Hwang's forthcoming horse ride with Yuyi would go. The actual date, however, is equally hilarious. Instead of delivering on her romantic expectations, Hwang teaches Yuyi how to ride a horse solo and throw an axe. And to add insult to injury, he'd rather have her on his team of bandits than as his girlfriend. When Hwang returns from his date, our hapless trio unexpectedly finds an infant on their doorstep. Honju is quick to go into caregiver mode, but it takes Yeon and Hwang some time to warm up to the baby. In fact, the brothers actually bond over their shared desire to try and pawn the baby off on some other unsuspecting family. The baby eventually worms her way into their hearts, but just as the brothers have given her a name and resolve to keep her in their care, the Japanese authorities show up and attempt to forcefully remove her. The ensuing fight scene, however, is joyfully bright and full of bubbles, as if the drama was censoring itself for the baby's eyes. Sadly, we'll have to wait until next week to discover our baby's identity and her connection to the man currently detained by the Japanese. Given the man's addiction to carrots and rumored luck at finding gold mines, I'm going to assume he's some sort of rabbit god. We didn't see a whole lot of Eunho in our latest episodes, but she did have a couple of memorable encounters with Honju, who finally met his wife's doppelganger when he robbed her house and stole the golden ruler. Considering the ruler is rumored to have the power to bring people back from the dead, I think it's safe to say Moo-young intends to use it, and the zombie beauty pageant winner, to resurrect his brother. And now that Yeon is in possession of the ruler, it's only a matter of time before Moo-young shows up to retrieve it. Hongju's intentions are more murky. Given her previous obsession with Yeon, I assumed she'd remain eternally loyal to him despite his disinterest. But after Yeon's recent rejection, I'm not so sure. She could certainly be playing a double agent, but now that she's located the 1938 Yeon, it's possible that she could go rogue and just spend the next 85 years trying to woo 1938 Yeon. Whatever her motivations, I think we can all agree that her wardrobe is to die for. I am totally willing to stare down the blade of her claymore if it means a chance at owning that pinstripe pantsuit. And that covers episodes 3 and 4 of Tale of the Nine-Tailed 1938. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel and come back next week for the new episodes.